Networking and marketing made simple is for you, the business owner who has a product, a service, or a message that you believe in. My name is Scott Aaron, and each week we'll take a behind-the-scenes look into the real-world marketing and networking tactics and strategies for getting what you have in front of you to a lot more people. Thanks for spending time with me, and now let's get started. So before we dive in, I just want to say thank you to Spotify for, again, being my sponsor for these episodes that are coming out. And, you know, the big question that I always have for people, and Nancy and I talk about this all the time, is, you know, do you want to also have a podcast of your own? And the wonderful thing is Spotify has a platform that lets you make one from a very, very simplistic point of view and then get it out everywhere and even earn money for doing so. And it's all in one place and it's absolutely free. And it's called Spotify for Podcasters. And here's a little bit of how it works. So it lets you record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. I start on my phone, transition to my computer. So no matter what your setup is like, you can start creating right away and you can start today. Then you can get it distributed, your podcast, to Spotify and everywhere else that podcasts are heard. Video podcasts are available, but also you can take your conversations with your fans to the next level. You can do Q&A, you can do polls, and this is how you can get people talking. With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads like this, podcast subscriptions, and so much more. And best of all, it is free, no catch at all. And ever since I discovered Spotify for Podcasters, not only has it helped Nancy and I grow and scale our business, but I am well over 500,000 total listens, approaching 600,000. I have people that are paying for a subscription for bonus episodes and so much more. And I cannot speak highly enough about it. You should give it a try. Download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started today. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another dual episode of the Entrepreneur Rescue Mission and Networking and Marketing Made Simple. I am here with my beautiful co-host,
Nancy.
There's her name. I didn't want to. No, it's funny. Nancy always points out whenever we have Taylor and like people ask him questions, I do the whole dad thing that I'm just so used to when he was a little kid, like answering for him. And Nancy always has to remind me, don't answer for him. Let him just tell his day. And again, I didn't want to answer for Nancy and say her name. So
It's so funny. It's always awkward. He's like, and here's Nancy. And I'm like, hi.
Anyway, here we are. So obviously you've read the description of this episode or saw the title, and we're going to be talking about, I don't want to say a triggering topic for myself and Nancy, but it's definitely something that has created a certain feeling for us when we experience it, when we read it, when we hear it. And it has to do with the ego-driven, I would say, emotions, but also characteristics that a lot of professionals end up having when they are putting themselves on a pedestal. It's almost like they become so above or too important to even network with people or relate to people anymore. And again, for anyone that's an active networker that has discovery calls and, you know, they're really looking to form meaningful business alliances, I think you can absolutely relate to this in the sense that you can smell, sense, hear, taste someone's ego from a mile away. So Nance, why don't you give a little bit of context of, obviously we have our very similar and aligned feelings about people that have just such a huge ego they can't fit through the doorway that they're walking through, and you know what people really need to do to check themselves. And also obviously I want to share a recent experience that I had with everybody.
Yeah. So just Scott and I always have I consider it a blessing, honestly. There's seasons of our life and seasons of our business where we kind of see themes bubble up And when it bubbles up enough, it's like, we got to do a podcast episode. So literally, we just had breakfast. We just took the dogs out. We're kind of hanging out. We're like, we got to jump on and just do this episode because it is so apparent right now. The theme that keeps bubbling up is the ego. And, of course, we have quite a few different stories of how this kind of bubbled up, but even, there's stuff in the news right now. And when we're shooting this episode, person, her name's Lizzo, right? She's a performer. She just won an award, but she's got a ton of, press right now, like bad press surrounding her because of apparently some things that she had her dancers do. I mean, she's a music performer and some other things and, her comments and things like that. And people are just saying she's very egoic and has kind of let a lot of this fame get to her head and she treats people poorly. I mean, and her dancers are complaining. And anyway, it just really was one of those things where, again, it came out of the woodwork and I'm like, man, ego, ego, ego. Like, how does this happen? Right? How do you take someone who, is maybe a good person or someone who really wants to do good for other people, and then it gets out of hand, right? The train goes off the tracks and it just gets way too out of control. And so we've seen this in several different cases. The first I'll talk about is, with clients, that we've had in the past. And, I think we all at this point, depending where you're at in your career, we've all kind of realized, right, who the ideal clients that we want to work with and some of the nightmarish type clients that we know we don't want to work with. And there have been several clients in our past, that bubbled to the surface where they just plain were not coachable. Ego kind of got to their head and it became more of I'm not going to say a pissing contest, but it was kind of like a, back and forth where, if somebody comes to you asking for advice or, wanting coaching, and then all of a sudden it's back and forth and back and forth, and they're like, well, I already know this and I already know that. And it just gets very confusing as a coach. So, that's one thing that I'm learning and I'm really developing in myself, again, full transparency is, how to kind of navigate and deal with those relationships because one thing, that I learned in my leadership career is we need to have people kind of open the door sometimes. And sometimes it comes with building rapport and it comes with people actually saying, okay, you know what, I'm open for feedback and, I'm going to be self-aware. I'm going to slow down. I'm going to notice whenever I'm, kind of these things are bubbling up. So anyway, again, with all that being said, it's just still flabbergasting to me that people can behave in certain ways. I mean, the one client that I worked with, it was funny because he really wanted to build this business and, had all these things and all these ideas. And I literally had the resources. I'm like, here you go. Oh, you want to build this? You want to have this assessment? You want to create that? And it was like, here you go, go ahead and use it as a template. And you can literally take it. And, this particular person just was deflecting and wriggling and didn't want to take any of the information or the feedback, and it just became more of a back and forth like, well, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. So anyway, it just became very confusing as a coach. And then we had another client who in a similar fashion said that they needed help with all these things, and then whenever resources were provided to help with that particular thing, it just again became a back and forth. Well, my business is amazing and this is that. It was very odd. So that becomes confusing. Again, that's something that I am even working through as a coach, to get better at and make sure that people can kind of work through these things, being more self-aware, being more mindful, having humility, and actually being able to call out these people whenever they're, kind of raising their tail feathers and kind of peacocking in that way. Scott?
Well, the one thing I want to chime in with is that, Nancy and I, we talk about this often and we're very open and transparent about this, that Nancy and I are not, we don't peacock our success. We don't gloat. We're not showy. We're more purpose-driven people in the sense that we love getting results for other people. Like that, what feels great to us is not the success that we are having. It's the success that others are having working with us. So there's a lot of people out there that predicate and base the advice they're willing to take from someone based on the known success that they are having. And a red flag for Nancy and myself is when someone asks us, and this is something that I learned, and it was a hard lesson, but I learned it when someone was quantifying our success based on whether they were going to join our program or not. What are you making? What is your success? How much money do you have? And, I think the natural instinct for someone is to peacock back and say, well, this is what I'm making. This is what we have. But in reality, it's never about what we have. It's what we're able to deliver and do for someone else. So if someone is going to be basing their decision to work with us based on how much money we do or do not have, they're not a good fit. And for me personally, I love not gloating or being ostentatious with the things that we're doing on social media. And I feel like there's a lot of people, and Nancy, alluded to this, that do this. And I don't know if it's a low self-worth, low self-esteem. Maybe that's how they make themselves feel better. We're never going to do that. And I shared this with Nancy the other day. I got on this discovery call with this person that reached out to me on LinkedIn, and I wanted to hang up after 5 minutes because it, the all the person said to me from the get-go, he goes, "Are you open to some feedback on some things? I checked out your website." And I'm like, yeah, sure. And it ended up turning into this literally 25-minute peacock call where this person was telling me, oh, we charge $35,000 to teach people, to show them, or to write their books and publish them. And I've self-published 65 books myself. I've sold 3 companies. I've helped people publish 35. Like, I didn't ask for any of this either. Like, he was just telling me. And that's not someone that I want to form an alliance with. So people need to understand that you need to align yourself with people that have similar beliefs and the ways that they go about business. And I think, some people, that they don't mean any harm by it, but I think, Nancy, you can acknowledge this, that the online space is so crowded that people are looking for any way possible to stand out. And if that's being very ostentatious on social media and making bold claims like, want to make an extra $10,000 to $20,000 a month in 6 weeks, like, again, it ends up being a marketing ploy. But I'm just so deterred now when I talk to people that I can just feel their ego, where they don't know me, I don't know them, but they automatically assume that they are better than me. And it makes me not want to really talk to those people ever again.
Yeah. Well, I just think it's interesting. And actually, just talking through this, I don't know, even having this conversation, I think I'm having a couple of aha moments because, whenever I did my NLP, neuro linguistic programming certification a couple of years ago, one thing that they really made clear was you can't coach people and you can't really give people feedback until you have built the rapport, right? Until you really, built that know, like, and trust with the person so that they know you, they trust you. And then, of course, you're coming from a good place where this guy came in guns blazing and he's like, let me just shoot down here with, all these things and, look at me and flaunting his tail feathers. And
Well, he reached out to me saying, "Hey,
yeah,
let's hop on a Zoom. Let's get to know each other and our
yeah.
businesses." And it turned into him analyzing our businesses, what we were lacking, even though he had no clue. And the big message was, really not just being the expert, but um having credibility. And I'm like,
Well, yeah, it's like, yeah, trust me, we know over 500 LinkedIn recommendations. I think we're
yeah,
good. But,
like,
I just think it's interesting. So going back to what you said, right? For someone to ask, and I get it. Look, I like to play devil's advocate with Scott. We always have debates and we go back and forth, and I try to see both sides of things, right? This is my HR brain, from the past coming to play. And of course, if I'm going to work with someone or if I'm going to be in a mastermind or join a program, I want to work with someone who is, at least a few, if not more, steps ahead of me, right? I want to know that they're actually successful, that they're happy. It's not a bunch of bullshit, right? Which people are posting nowadays, making millions of dollars, which, guys, we have seen behind the scenes of so many businesses. I mean, literally, like, in my past, I've worked with so many people are struggling, and they're putting this perfect picture of what their business is on social media. You have no idea. The majority of people who are claiming, that they're successful and they're doing well. In fact, the majority of people who are actually having to say that aren't doing very well. Okay. And they're not making the money that you think that they are. But the whole moral of the story is we are in a place, right? Where we are absolutely 110% the programs and the value that we put out there, whether it be a workshop, whether it be our mastermind or any of the programs that we have, we can put our foot down, hands down, and say, this is so much value. You will literally skyrocket your business if you just do the things, that we tell you to do. We have literally invested tens of 20 thousands of dollars, right? In learning all of this stuff, in experiencing all these mistakes, and learning the right ways to do things so that other people don't have to. And in fact, we really hang our hats on helping people build what we call small and mighty businesses, right? We're not talking about like multi-billion-dollar businesses where you've got like 100 team members and you're, obviously running that. No, we're talking about, okay, well, you want to work 3 days a week. You want to have some peace. You want to have flexibility. I mean, I always go back to it, right? As humans, we all want the same thing. We want health, wealth, peace, and abundance. So if we want health, wealth, peace, and abundance, we can absolutely do that by building a business that not only gives us ease, it only requires maybe a few team members if you want to even do that, and we show you different ways to make residual income. And that's what we have done. And we can guarantee you, again, like Scott said, we do not get out here and flaunt how much we're making. We are so more than happy. In fact, we are very transparent with our peeps, and we just like taking people along for the ride. And the thing is what really hit home for me, in fact, what kind of like tailspinned into this whole conversation, because, aside from a couple clients that we had, which, I'm still working on navigating that as a coach and being better, right? Not giving all the resources and instead, right, having people kind of arrive to their own conclusions and things like that. But what really brought this to a head was an experience that Scott had. This was at this point a couple weeks ago, and he had a person actually reached out to him and accidentally, thought that he was this other coach who happened to be named Scott as well. And so this person reached out and said, I can't believe, you would treat people this way and whatever, and typed this whole email up. And it was like, whoa, what just happened? Because obviously we treat people with love and kindness, and we try to, obviously be very respectful. And this person wrote this horrible stuff. So we ended up finding out that it was this other coach. So Scott, just doing his due diligence and out of respect, just reached out to this coach and said, hey, just giving you a heads up, this person was very frustrated. They reached out to me, just want to make sure that you're aware. And the response that this coach gave was awful. Like, I mean, literally made me sick to my stomach. When Scott read the response, the guy was such a jerk. When we talk about egoic and just nasty, and the comments that he said, and here's the thing, I don't care if this particular person was a pain in the butt and they were, bugging people and maybe they were in the wrong in some way. No one deserves to be treated and to be talked about in such a negative way. And so Scott's actually going to read the response.
Yeah. So Nancy explained it beautifully. Someone mistook me for another coach with a similar name. And again, I, complied with this person and said, let me help you. I said, I feel bad about the experience you had and what you went through. And it wasn't hard to find out who it was. I did my own digging, my own research, and I sent this person what I found. And I ended up finding the person on Facebook and sent him a message and basically said, hey, so-and-so, we haven't met before, but there's a situation that needs some resolution involving a client of yours from the past who thinks I am you and sold them into one of your programs. They are very displeased and would like their money back from a course that they bought from you. And he wrote, LOL, dude, what in the world would you have to do with something I sold someone? That was his response. And I responded with, I have no idea. This is the person's name. They said they purchased from you back in December and they wanted to get a refund and somehow confused me with you. I didn't sell her anything, and can you connect with her? And he goes, this is hilarious, but no, wasn't bought through me. It was a co-contract, but You can't refund, blah, 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 regardless. Just ignore her. Thanks.
Yeah, and don't even he even said a lot of nasty things about the person, and
Yeah.
it's like,
Well,
again, yeah,
again,
don't read
like,
that. I would, yeah.
yeah, I'm not going to read that, but basically where it ended up, I said to this person, in all fairness, if the roles were reversed, you would be concerned as well for your business credibility. It's not the amount of money spent, it's the principle behind customer satisfaction from one business owner to another. You should do the right thing, or at least have someone contact her to let her know she's not going to get a refund if that's your policy. And his response was, she can contact support for that. See ya. And
And like we look this person up and we're like, wow. I mean, selling like the like
garbage,
multi-million dollar businesses
absolute
or whatever, garbage.
garbage. And here's the thing, the message that I finished with is it's the principle, right? You know, Nancy and I, in our business careers, you have to do the right thing. You know, we've had people in our programs that are going through certain situations, you know, whether it's family, whether it's financial, and we're very empathetic and sympathetic, where other people are like, no, you signed a contract, you got to fulfill it, suck it up, buttercup. That's that's not the way that we want to be remembered. You know, we want to be remembered as business owners that are empathetic, sympathetic, understanding, kind people. Where, again, if the roles are reversed, you know, what if we were in that situation? How would we want that person to handle things from us? So your ego will bankrupt your business, hands down.
Well, it's
It's the inevitable. Your ego will get in the way, and it will eventually bankrupt your business because word of mouth travels really, really fast.
Well, it's not just that. It's like it reminds me of an episode I listened to by Robin Sharma, and he was like, "Let karma take care of them." You know, continue on, be a good person, and let karma, you know, do its job. And I'm sorry, but like I just have those experiences. And when you read me the response, I got so upset because I got sad. You know, and I often do this, right? You know, I wake up in the morning, the sun's shining, I'm so happy, and I'm like, people are good. You know, I've always for my whole life, I'm like, oh, people are so good. And you get these experiences where you're like, not everybody is good. And there are mean, awful people that are preying on people and they're just out to make a dollar and they don't care. And it just makes me sick, but it's the truth. You know, it happens. And it just really makes me feel better, in all honesty. It kind of gave me a little bit of a I was feeling kind of a little like, like stagnant in a way. It gave me a little bit more inspiration. Honestly, it gave me a little more gas in my tank to really push and want to share more about what we're doing because I know, and right, Scott knows, we believe in our program and the things that we teach so much because we know it works. We know that we have done the do. We have literally put together so much training. You know, we've done so much research, on everything that we teach and train on, and we know you're going to get value. And so it makes me more fired up that, about that because when people join our program, it's like they become family. You know, we become their biggest cheerleaders. We always joke like at breakfast, we'll be eating breakfast and we'll be talking about, the members of our mastermind and like, oh my God, I hope this. And, I get excited about like all the new and different things. And oh my gosh, they just filled out, their whole entire strategy and their goal for, this year and so on and so forth. And we have those conversations and we have so much love and care. And really, right, we have such strong core values in and I go back to Science of Getting Rich, right? The book, from 100 years ago by Wallace C. Wattles. One quote that's in there that I always rest on is what I want for myself, I want for everyone, right? I don't want success just for myself. I don't want this just for myself. I know, and I remember there isn't a day that goes by that I don't sit in just silence for like a second and just feel the gratitude and feel how grateful it feels to be able to do what we do and to not have to wake up at 5 or 6 in the morning and drive to a job that I hate and do a thing that I don't enjoy, and it's like I don't want others to have to feel that way too. And if we can teach you how to build and grow your business and work the hours that you want to work and have the choice and be able to build a business that gives you joy and which is all around your area of expertise, then heck yeah, like I want to do it because I want everybody to feel this good. I want everybody to live life, in such a wonderful way. Life is short. That's another thing we always joke about. It's like, man, like if people knew how short life is in the grand scheme of things, it's like a blink of an eye. And it's like there's so many of us that are scared of putting ourselves out there and getting out there and doing things. But when we really look at the everything in a big perspective, it's like, guys, like, why not do the thing? Why not start the business? Why not give it a shot? Because life is short. So when I see these people, trolling, when I see the ego, whenever I experience it, and again, like I said, with my coaching clients, I really am, working on, I'm one of those problem solvers. I like to give people all the answers. So I myself am working on pumping the brakes and even using some of my NLP techniques to kind of dig a little deeper, and figure out why, the ego is bubbling and, what I can do to kind of help navigate that. But for the people who are out there that are treating people like garbage, that are making people do certain things, that are treating their team like crap. I mean, I can't tell you how many people I met whenever I was doing work, tech and VA and online business management stuff. How many VAs that I met that said, yeah, I was verbally abused. Yes, this person treated me like garbage. Yes, this person, calls me at 2 a.m. and screams at me and things like that. And it's like, how can people think this is okay? So we're going to give you a couple, tips. If you guys, obviously, I hope you guys listening are not, in that realm, but if you feel yourself, kind of bubbling up, or you feel like maybe ego is getting, just check yourself, right? We always talk about the filter. Is what you're about to say, is it truthful? Is what you're about to say necessary? Is what you're about to say kind? So that applies to any form of communication, whether it's coaching, whether it's giving feedback, whether it's, working with another client, whether it's this coach, who responded to Scott in such an asshole, negative way. Just be more self-aware, be aware of what's coming out of your mouth, and be a good person. It's really not that hard. And being a good person doesn't mean that you're weak. Right. I remember someone years ago, a mentor of mine, he went to interview at this big, position, and they said, you know what, we want to give you some feedback. We actually think you're too nice. And they said, we're a little worried because you're too nice. And he said, you know what? If too nice is the feedback that you're going to give me, oh, well, I'm going to continue to be a kind and nice person. And I can coach, I can develop team members, I can give feedback, I can be the best leader I can be and still be a nice, kind, good person. And I love that because, it's going against the grain. So, Scott.
So just to kind of close out, just check yourself. Nancy
Before
talks
you wreck
about the,
yourself.
yeah, she talks about the filter of life. Is it truthful? Is it necessary? Is it kind? And I promise you, you will have a wildly successful business when you put other people in front of yourself when it comes to getting them results. And, again,
Absolutely.
at certain times, yeah, your ego is always there and it might creep up. And Nancy checks me sometimes when I get a little bit egoic,
Yep.
and don't confuse ego with being proud. Sometimes I feel like I'm just being proud of what I've done, but it sometimes can come across egoic. So you really just do have to check yourself before you wreck yourself. And before we close out to today's episode, obviously we've talked about our mastermind before, Expert Authority, but we also want you, if there's any bottlenecks or if there's any things that you want to take a look at with your business, we do have a free business assessment on our website. It's thetimeToGrow.com. And you can also find out more about our mastermind, which we're opening up at the end of September. So if interested in our free business assessment, you just go to thetimeToGrow.com. You can also find about our group coaching mastermind called Expert Authority. And, that's where you can go to check it out.
Yeah. And just to, again, because I'm so passionate about what we do and about our program, the unique thing about our mastermind is it's not just a mastermind, right? It's not just a group and a community. It's a hybrid. We meet with every single person, and everyone is on their own path. We meet with you. We do a deep dive strategy session where we dig into your bottlenecks. We take a look at your business. We really identify those things, and those goals that are going to get you the most traction, the most success, really the most momentum in your business. And we set up a game plan, right? So we follow a framework where we literally make sure that you are staying hyper focused on your goals. You are held accountable, to meeting them. And we really meet you where you're at. So that's the other thing that I just love about this program so much is again, it's great for those who are not only building their business, but who are also in that growth mode, who are ready to really start, building more residual income streams. They're ready to stop just the one-on-one and, helping people individually. And they're ready to start, adding recurring income streams and maybe a team member or two. So I'm definitely super fired up about this, super excited to open the doors in the next month, which is going to be super, super exciting. But if you guys have not participated in a mastermind before and you're looking for something, or if you have and you're looking for something that's maybe a little different, I promise you, you will not be let down. We devote a lot of love and attention and give so much value. So we hope you join us. And if you want to learn more, like Scott said, just check out thetimetogrowcom. Thetimetogrowcom. That's where you can take the assessment, and you can also check out the programs that we have available.
Awesome. So everyone, we hope you enjoyed today's episode. Love and gratitude, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you so much again for checking out today's episode. And if you are listening through iTunes, Spotify, wherever you are, please leave me a rating and review. Let me know what you loved, what you would like to see improved, or ideas you have for future episodes. And if you are interested in taking your business to the next level, don't hesitate to go to my website, www.scottaaron.net, where you can schedule a free discovery call with me, where I can learn more about you, your business, what you're struggling with, and how we can work together. And don't forget to check out my wife, Nancy, and mine, our free community on Facebook called LinkedIn Leads for Life. We would love to see you in there. Have a great rest of your day. And thank you, everyone, for your support. Grateful for each and every one of you.